estimating the cost of each of the project activities, adding the cost estimates of the related activities to arrive at the cost budget, and controlling the cost to ensure that project activities are completed within the defined budget. In the next screen, let us discuss Cost Management Plan. The Cost Management Plan is a vital step in project cost management. It contains information like planning the project cost, managing and controlling the project in relation to the cost baseline, and managing cost variances. Project Cost Management Plan is a part of the Project Management Plan. The methods used in estimating the cost of each of the project activities are similar to the ones used in estimating project time. For example, time estimation methods like expert judgment, analogous estimating, bottom-up estimating, and reserve analysis are few of the techniques that are also used in estimating activity cost. Let us discuss control account in the next screen. Control account is an important concept in the project cost management. Project cost is generally estimated at individual activity level. It becomes difficult to manage cost at the activity level in large projects. Therefore, the cost is managed at a higher level. This requires related activities to be clubbed and their cost being managed together as one unit. This unit is called control account. While estimating the project time, WBS is created to break down the project into smaller deliverables. These deliverables are broken down into work packages, and these work packages are in turn broken into activities. Control account is defined at a level higher than the work packages. For example, if 5 work packages are part of the one control account, the cost of all activities belonging to these 5 work packages are managed as one unit. In the next screen, let us discuss the project cost management process. Project cost management has 4 processes. They are plan cost management, estimate costs, determine budget, and control costs. The 3 processes, plan cost management, estimate costs, and determine budget, are a part of planning process group, and control cost process is a part of monitoring and controlling process group. Let us look at each of these processes in detail. Let us begin with the first process, that is, plan cost management, in the next screen. Managing costs on a project is a critical exercise. If the activities are planned well, it becomes easier to achieve harmony with the overall cost and budget of the project. Plan cost management is the process of establishing the policies, procedures, and documentation for planning, managing, expending, and controlling the project costs. Let us look at the inputs required for this process. The Project Management Plan provides other subsidiary plans and guides the cost planning activities on the project. The project charter provides an overall context and high-level product and project description, which help determine the approach for cost management. For example, for some projects, budget could be a constraint, whereas for others, budget would not be a constraint, but subject to the other objectives. Enterprise environmental factors provide the organizational context to the project, including the culture of the organization and the infrastructure, for instance, the scheduling systems available, the key personnel, and so on. Organizational process assets provide inputs such as policies and procedures, templates, past performance, data and estimates, historical information, and knowledge base. Now, let us look at the tools and techniques employed in this process. Expert judgment refers to input received from knowledgeable and experienced resources. Experts can devise an approach to govern the costs on a project by using their previous experiences. Meetings may be organized to determine the cost management plan. Everyone responsible for the project schedule management, such as the project manager, representatives from the appropriate accounting or financial organization, sponsor, customer, and other stakeholders must attend these meetings. Several analytical techniques may be used to determine the cost management plan. These techniques help to map the impact of various decisions on cost. For example, how do risk management processes impact cost, etc.? Cost management plan is the primary output of this process. It establishes the units of measure, levels of precision, organizational process links, control accounts to be used, rules for performance measurement and reporting, frequency and methodology of monitoring the costs, and various other details that lay the overall framework for cost management on a project. In the next screen, let us discuss the second process under project cost management. Estimate cost. Estimate cost is the approximation of the monetary resources required to complete a project activity. Cost of a specific activity is estimated based on the information available at that point of time. As the project team gets more information about the project, the activity cost estimation may change. Let us look at the inputs of this process. Scope baseline is the most important input as it details out the project's scope of work. Along with that, project schedule is also important. This contains information like when and which resource is required for the project. It is good to remember that the same kind of resources may have different costs at different points of time. Human resource management plan is another important input. Various elements like personnel rates, rewards or recognition programs, etc., are covered in the Human Resource Management Plan, which is important in approximating the cost estimate. Human Resource Management Plan will be discussed in detail in the Human Resource Management Knowledge area. Risk Register is also an input because risk mitigation costs should be considered in cost planning. More information on risk and its effect in the project will be looked at in detail in Risk Management Knowledge area. Another input, Enterprise Environmental Factors, provides organizational context to the project. Organization Process Asset is listed as an input as organizations might have standards set of cost estimation policies or templates. Cost Management Plan is another important input. The Cost Management Plan lays the framework for the cost management processes in the project. It provides guidelines such as the units of measure, accuracy desired, methodologies, and tools to be used, etc. Let us now look at the tools and techniques used in this process. Expert judgment, reserve analysis, analogous estimating, cost of quality, parametric estimating, project management software, bottom-up estimating, three-point estimating, vendor bid analysis, and group decision-making are the various tools and techniques used in this process. Most of the tools and techniques used here are similar to the ones used in the time management knowledge area. Vendor bid analysis is a technique used to estimate project cost. For example, a project requires material procured externally through suppliers. In order to get that, you invite bids from 3 or 4 suppliers and assess their quotations. Based on their quotations, you can get an idea of the costs that will be involved in getting the material for the project. Group decision-making technique is another important technique for project cost estimation. Cost estimation is an exercise which may be carried out by a group or committee in order to gather well-rounded input. Therefore, group decision-making techniques may be used to arrive at a decision that team can work with. The outputs of this process are quite straightforward. Estimates of each of the activities are arrived at. Basis of the estimate includes things like how the estimate was developed, what were the assumptions made in estimating, etc. Project document updates is also one of the outputs because the cost estimates may result in updates to other aspects of the project. For example, quality, risk, time, etc. In the next screen, let us discuss the third process under project cost management, determine budget. Once the estimate of each of the activities is arrived at, the next project cost management process is to determine budget. It is the process of aggregating the estimated costs of individual activities or work packages to establish an authorized cost baseline. This is where the control account concept comes into picture. The estimated costs of the activities are aggregated to arrive at the cost budget at the control account level. Once approved, this cost budget becomes the cost baseline of the project. Project cost performance is measured against the cost baseline, that is, how much more would the project cost be compared to the original cost baseline. The cost baseline includes all authorized budgets, but excludes management reserves. The inputs used in determining the project budget are the activity cost estimates and the basis of estimates, which are the output of the previous cost management process. The cost management plan lays the framework for the cost management processes in the project. It provides guidelines such as the budgeting cycle, tools and techniques used to prepare and approve the budget, etc. In addition to these two important inputs, scope baseline is also looked at. Project schedule provides aggregate cost in a particular calendar period to ensure how much money can be made available during that time. Similarly, resource calendar provides information on the resource, which is assigned to the project at a particular point of time. This information is then used to indicate resource costs over the duration of the project. Risk register gives an understanding of the overall level of risk on the project and, therefore, the level of contingency reserves that need to be built into the budget. Agreements entered into with the suppliers are also required to finalize the budget. Again, organizational process asset is an input because organization may have few policies for reporting the cost budget, or there might be some cost budgeting tools being used. There are various tools and techniques used in determining budgets. Cost aggregation technique involves adding up the cost and aggregating them at the control account level so that the cost can be managed in a better way. In reserve analysis, once the costs are estimated, some extra amount is added to the estimate as a management reserve to take care of any unplanned activities. Expert judgment is a technique in which an expert's help is sought to estimate the activity cost. Expert is someone who might have worked on a similar project in the past and has a good idea to estimate the activity cost involved. Historical relationships are used to predict the total project cost using mathematical model. This is similar to analogous estimate or parametric estimate method. Funding limit reconciliation technique is used to ensure that cost on the project is budgeted or spent as per the availability of the fund. For example, if the project can get the funding of only $50,000 a month, the project budget should be planned accordingly. The output of this process is the cost baseline. This is an authorized project budget over a period. This is used to measure, monitor, and control overall cost performance of the project. In addition to this, the project funding requirements are also arrived at. Funding requirements means how much fund the project requires monthly, quarterly, or yearly for the execution. The last output of this process is project document updates. An understanding of determining budget may be useful when answering questions in the PMP exam. So make a note of the inputs, tools, and techniques and outputs of determining budget. In the next screen, let us discuss the last process of project cost management, that is, control cost. Control costs is the process of monitoring the status of the project to update the project budget and managing changes to the cost baseline. Updating the budget involves recording actual costs spent until date. Any increase to the authorized budget can only be approved through the Perform Integrated Change Control process. Some of the typical activities that happen as part of the control cost process are ensuring that cost expenditure does not exceed the authorized funding, monitor the cost performance to understand variance, and monitoring the work performance against the funds expended. The inputs to the process are project management plan, organizational process assets, project funding requirements, and work performance data. Work performance data contains the information about the project progress. The important tools and techniques used in controlling costs are earned value analysis management, forecasting, to complete performance index. Other important aspects of controlling costs are the review the performance, analyze the reserves to make sure the project has enough budgetary reserves to meet the expenses, and project management software, which helps in tracking and managing costs. Now, let us look at the output of this process. The key outputs of this process are work performance information in terms of cost variance, CV, schedule variance, SV, and earned value, EV, and forecasts about the cost performance. This process may also result in change requests arising out of cost control measures, as well as updates to project documents, the project management plan, and organizational process assets. Business scenario-based questions on project cost control can be expected in the exam. So if you have questions on these concepts, get them cleared, as that will help you score higher. In the next screen, let us learn about earned value management and its related terms. Earned value technique is an excellent way to track the project progress against the project plan. It is a method of measuring the project performance objectively and comparing it against the project baseline. Results from an earned value analysis indicate deviation of the project from cost and schedule baselines. Baseline is the initial approved value along with approved changes. Therefore, schedule baseline is the first approved project schedule along with approved changes. There are various terms used in earned value technique. Planned value is the authorized budget assigned to the scheduled work. Earned value is the work performed in terms of budget authorized for that work. Actual cost is the cost incurred in work performed. Budget at completion is the budgeted amount for the total work. Estimate at completion is the expected total cost for the project. Estimate to complete is the expected cost to finish all the remaining project work. Variance at completion is the projected budget surplus or deficit at the end of the project. All the parameters displayed on the screen are measured in terms of cost. You may come across business scenario-based questions on earned value management in the PMP exam, so ensure that you develop a clear understanding of this topic. Let us look at an example of a planned value in the next screen. Planned value is the estimated value of the work planned. This value is measured in terms of currency, say dollar. If the planned value is $340, then the work planned is worth $340. How do you calculate earned value? The solution is add the budget allocated to each of the activities that have been completed at the point of time. The resulting value is the earned value. In the next screen, let us look at the formula used to calculate earned value. In cost variance, negative means the project is over budget. Positive means the project is under budget. Similarly, in schedule variance, negative means the project is behind schedule, whereas positive means the project is ahead of schedule. The value of the next two parameters, Cost Performance Index, CPI, and Schedule Performance Index, SPI, values vary between 0 and 1. For example, a CPI of 0.8 implies that 80 cents of work is obtained for every dollar spent in the project. Similarly, if SPI is 0.9, it implies that project is progressing at only 90% of the speed originally planned. The next parameter is Estimate at Completion, or EAC. There are different ways of calculating the EAC value. The method used depends on how the cost and schedule variances are expected to play for the rest of the project. BAC by CPI is used if you expect that the current cost performance will continue until the end of the project. AC plus BAC minus EV is used if you expect that the rest of the project will be managed at the budgeted rate. AC plus BAC minus EV by the product of CPI and SPI is used if you want to factor in the impact of the cost as well as schedule variances. AC plus ETC is used if you want to re-evaluate the project based on a forecast value for the estimated cost of the remainder of the project. The next parameter is estimate to complete, or ETC, which is the cost of project from this point to the end. This is calculated by subtracting the actual cost from the estimate at completion. In addition, variance at completion can be calculated by subtracting the estimate at completion from the budget at completion. Variance at completion is the cost estimation whether it is over or under budget. Another parameter is the To Complete Performance Index, or TCPI. This is the cost performance needed to achieve a desired outcome. For example, if the project needs to be managed to the original budget, BAC, then TCPI, that is, the CPI that must be maintained for the rest of the project, is calculated as BAC minus EV by BAC minus AC. Similarly, if it has to be managed within a revised target, say EAC, then TCPI is calculated as BAC minus EV by EAC minus AC. Before the start of the PMP exam, please make a note of the formulas of earned value technique. In the next screen, let us look into a business scenario to understand this concept better. After reading the problem statement, click the Solution button to look at a possible answer. Let us take the example of a software development project. There are 4 phases, and each phase takes a month to complete and is expected to cost $10,000. The phases are planned to be completed one after the other. The status of the project at the end of the month 3 is summarized in the table. Requirements definition is completed and actual spending on this is $10,000. Architecture and design is done and actual spending on this is $12,000. Development and unit testing is only 50% done, though it was supposed to be completed by 3rd month. It has cost $9,000 until date. System testing and go live has not yet started. Note, S indicates start time, F indicates finish time, and PF indicates that it is partly finished at the end of the month. Based on the above information, calculate the CV, SV, CPI, and SPI of the project. Let us look at a solution in the next screen. Before we end this lesson, let us also look at a few definitions that might be useful for your PMP examination. Law of diminishing return. This means the more you put into something, the less you get out of it. For example, doubling the number of resources working on a project will not necessarily have the time. Working capital. The amount of money the company has to invest on the project and the day-to-day company operations. Funding limit reconciliation. The process of comparing the planned expenditure in a given period with the available funding for that period. Large assets purchased by the company lose value over time. This is called depreciation. There are 2 forms of depreciation, straight line and accelerated. Same amount of depreciation is taken every year. For instance, a car with a price tag of $10,000 and useful life of 10 years is depreciated $1,000 per year. At the end of the 10th year, the value of the car is considered 0 for all accounting purposes. Accelerated depreciation depreciates faster than the straight line depreciation. For instance, a car with a price tag of $10,000 depreciates $3,000 the first year, $1,500 the next year, $1,000 the 3rd year, and so on. There are 47 processes in project management, grouped into 10 knowledge areas and mapped to 5 process groups. In this lesson, we will look at the 5th knowledge area, that is, project quality management and its processes. In the next screen, let us understand what quality is. The project manager is responsible for quality in a project. However, it is also the responsibility of each and every one in the project to ensure that whatever they do meets project quality expectations. Quality is defined as the degree to which a set of inherent characteristics fulfills requirements. A project is said to meet quality expectations when all the project requirements agreed in the beginning of the project are met, and the resulting product is usable. Usable means that the intended users can use the product without any problem. In the next screen, let us look at some quality-related terms. It is important to discuss a few terms to understand the concept of quality better. Customer satisfaction is defined as conformance to requirements and fitness for use. It is important to understand the subtle distinction between quality and grade. Grade is a classification based on technical characteristics. Low quality is always a problem, but low grade may not be a problem. Rather, it would be a matter of choice. Similarly, it is important to understand the distinction between precision and accuracy. Precision is the granularity of measurement. That is, how fine-grained can you measure the outcome. Accuracy is how correct you are. That is, how close you are to the desired value. In the next screen, let us understand the concept of optimal level of quality. Quality comes at a cost. More effort put in quality will give better results. However, you cannot keep on investing on increasing the quality, as there is no limit to how much a product can be improved. Investment in quality is determined by knowing the optimal level of quality. Optimal level of quality, as shown in the diagram, is said to be achieved at the point where the incremental revenue from improvement equals the incremental cost to secure it. Suppose you are the manufacturer of toys, but the toys are below quality and the sales are low. To improve the quality, you invest in identifying the demands of children, sharing few samples, and recording their feedbacks. Once all these are captured and implemented in the products, you lure the parents to buy them. As the investment is increased to manufacture good quality toys, the cost will therefore increase, and it might become prohibitive for parents to buy. Optimal level of quality is reached at a point where you get maximum number of buyers for the toys manufactured. Now that we are clear on the concept of quality, in the next screen, let us discuss quality management. Quality management involves performing activities like creating standard policies and procedures and ensuring that those standard procedures are being followed properly in the project. It aims to ensure that project meets all the initial agreed requirements without any deviation and that the specified approach to quality is implemented on the project. Three broad activities are done as part of quality management. They are quality planning, quality assurance, and quality control. Quality planning is the first step when quality-related activities of the project are planned. Quality assurance is the next stage of implementing those quality plans, and quality control is the last stage when periodic checks are done to see if project quality is improving. In the next screen, let us look into the differences between the three aspects of quality management. It is important to understand the different kinds of activities that come under quality planning, quality assurance, and quality control. Once the quality planning is done, the quality management plan is ready. This quality management plan has standards, templates, policies, and procedures to be followed in the project. It contains information on the level of quality being aimed and the plan to achieve that level. It is the aim of quality assurance activities to ensure that the activities planned under quality planning phase gets executed for the project. It is the task of quality assurance to determine if the project is complying with the organizational as well as project policies and procedures. This is ensured by conducting regular process audits to identify deviation from what is planned in the quality management plan. These audits are generally done by quality department of the organizations. Quality assurance focuses on the process, not on specific products. The role of quality control is to measure specific project data or results against standards to inspect and verify the project's product, defect repair, and measure whether quality indicators are improving. Quality control is about the product and data. For example, it was planned as part of quality management that project would get completed plus or minus 10% within the cost budget. 3 months back, when the measurement was done, project was over budget by 20%. When the measurement was done a day before, it was only 15% over budget. Therefore, the project has showed an improvement of 5% in the last 3 months, and it is quite likely that over the next 3 months, project may get within the planned limit of 10%. Instead of showing improvement, If the data shows cost increase, then corrective and preventative actions are required to get the project within the 10% limit. This is quality control. In the next screen, let us discuss a few quality management concepts. Let us look at some terms that are commonly used in quality management parlance. Total Quality Management, or TQM, is a quality management philosophy that involves holistic thinking about meeting the objectives of an organization. It places the responsibility of quality squarely on the management. Kaizen is a Japanese term that stands for change for better. Kaizen philosophy is one that should always be looking for small and continuous improvements in the process. Deeming cycle, or PDCA cycle, that is, Plan, Do, Check, Act, is a process control and improvement approach propagated by the famous quality guru Edward Deming. It means you plan for something, execute it, check the output, and based on the lessons you act to bring the deviations under control. Kanban is a pull-based management system that originated in Japan, based on just-in-time (JIT) inventory management. The idea behind Kanban is to minimize the work in progress and achieve a smooth flow in the process from start to finish. Because building up inventory only to paper over the imperfections in the system tends to hide the problems. In the next screen, let us focus on cost of quality. Cost of quality is the cost that needs to be incurred to make a quality product. The sum of all the costs incurred is ensuring that project conforms to requirement is cost of quality. Cost of quality can be broken down into two major categories. First is the cost of conformance, or the money spent during the project to avoid failures. This can further be subdivided into prevention costs, which is the cost to prevent errors, like training the team, creating documents, on equipment, and in time to do it right. The other subdivision is appraisal costs, or the cost for assessing quality, like testing, destructive testing loss, and inspections. The second category is the cost of nonconformance. It is the money spent during and after the project because of failures. This is subdivided into internal failure costs. It is the cost of failures that occur before the product is released to customers, for example, rework and scrap. The second subdivision is external failure costs. It is cost incurred on failures that occur after it has been released by the team, for example, liabilities, warranty work, and lost business. Concept-based questions on cost of quality can be expected in the exam, so please make a note of the categories of cost of quality. Let us look at the project quality management processes in the next screen. There are 3 project quality management processes, of which the first process, Plan Quality Management, is done as part of the planning process group. The next process, Perform Quality Assurance, is done as part of the executing process group, and the last process, Control Quality, is done as part of the monitoring and controlling process group. In the next 3 screens, let us look into each of these processes in detail. The aim of the Plan Quality Management process is to identify the relevant requirements or standards to execute the project effectively to achieve the desired quality level. Quality planning results in the creation of the Quality Management Plan. Aim of the Plan Quality process is to identify the standards. A standard is an agreed-upon process to work or achieve a result. A standard can be set from within the organization or government. Once all the standards for the project are identified, the aim of the quality planning activities involves determining what work needs to be done to meet those standards. Before adhering to the standards, you should question their relevance with the project. Implementing all possible standards applicable to the project in random will have cost and time implications. Let us look at the inputs to this process. The project management plan provides the scope, schedule, and cost baseline, all of which have an implication on the quality management plan. Quality plan has a direct correlation with these. It might also have an impact on and be impacted by other subsidiary management plans, such as risk management. The stakeholders of the project may have specific requirements and views about the quality parameters of the project, and these have to be considered. The risk register gives an indication about the kind of risks that are inherent in the project, and also those which must be considered while planning the activities to ensure quality. The requirements for the project need to be considered for planning quality-related activities, because quality is all about meeting the requirements. In addition to these, enterprise environmental factors and organization process assets are also listed as inputs, because the standards can be either from within the organization or from government or other external bodies. Standards from within the organizations are usually the best practices learned over a period while executing numerous projects. An example of government standards can be standards to control air pollution by the motor vehicles, which vehicle manufacturers must adhere to. To accomplish quality planning, first, analyze the benefits versus the costs of meeting quality requirements. Next, identify the cost of quality and confirm if that kind of investment in quality is justified. In addition to these two, benchmarking helps in analyzing the quality of activities of similar projects executed in the past. This helps in identifying the particular quality of output of the previous project, which in turn acts as a basis for the current project's quality planning. Design of experiments can also be used for quality planning. This is a statistical way to determine what variables will improve quality the most. For example, in case of manufacturing doors, it can be determined that increasing the quality of the wood can have maximum impact on improving the quality of the door. In addition, the 7 basic quality tools, also known as the 7QC tools, are used to determine the plan to achieve the desired level of quality. Statistical sampling as a tool becomes relevant whenever the quality plan cannot be applied to all the artifacts produced. For example, if destructive testing is a requirement, then it can be carried out only on a sample, not on the entire population. Statistical sampling helps in arriving at a representative sample that can give useful information. Other additional tools, such as brainstorming, force field analysis, etc., may be used to determine the quality management plan for the project. Conducting regular meetings is another important tool. The quality management plan has to be determined in a collaborative manner by consulting the team members and other stakeholders. Quality management plan is a key output of this process. Checklist is a list of items to inspect. For example, many of the office buildings have housekeeping checklists to ensure that all floors, cabins, etc. are cleaned. Checklists are created during quality planning and used in quality control. Metrics are project-specific data that need to be measured to check the status of the project. The simplest project metrics can be cost and schedule. Metrics are also decided during quality planning and used in quality control. One of the roles of the project manager is to not only manage the project, but also improve processes in the project to decrease the instances of defects, which in turn saves time and money. Such activities are listed in the Process Improvement Plan, which eventually becomes part of Project Management Plan. As a result of the planning activities, other project documents may also get updated. For example, the Quality Management Plan may result in updates to the cost or resource requirements. There may be questions in the PMP exam based on the Plan Quality Management process, so please ensure you have a fair understanding of the concept before you take the exam. In the next screen, let us discuss the second quality management process. Once the quality planning is over, the next process in project quality management is quality assurance, which involves determining whether the standards are being met and the processes are being followed. Therefore, the input for this process is the work that has been completed during the quality planning stage. They are project documents, quality management plan, process improvement plan, quality metrics, and quality control measurements. Let us look at the tools and techniques used in this process. Quality audit is the process to check whether the project is complying with the organization policies, standards, and procedures, and determine whether these policies, standards, and procedures used are efficient and effective. So a good audit not only looks at this compliance, but also for the new lessons learned from the current project that can help make the future projects better. Process analysis involves using the lessons learned from doing the initial few work to make the remaining work more efficient. For example, if the project involves installing a software package, then the lesson learned from the first few installations can be used to improve the process on remaining installations. Apart from these, all the quality management and control tools, such as the 7 basic quality tools, will be relevant to this process. The key output of this process is project documents updates to ensure that if there is any deviation from agreed standards, it is corrected. Also, if there are any lessons learned that can help improve the future projects, the organization process assets get updated. This quality assurance may result in improvement suggestions, change requests may be generated, and the project management plan may need to be updated. Understanding characteristics of quality assurance tools and techniques may be useful while answering the exam, so prepare this topic well before you take the exam. In the next screen, let us discuss the last process of quality management. The key focus of the quality control activities is on the correctness of the work. Quality control helps answer questions like, is everything okay with the project? Does the project plan require changes to successfully execute the project? Will the project succeed, etc.? Let us look at the inputs to this process. The quality metrics measurements are done continuously to see whether the project quality is improving. The project deliverables are inspected against the planned checklists. Quality control acts upon the deliverables and work performance data produced in execution. It also refers to the project management plan for understanding deviations from the plan. It also considers the approved change requests, information from other project documents, and organizational process assets. There are 7 popular tools and techniques used in doing the quality control activities. They are collectively known as 7 basic tools of quality. Other relevant tools are statistical sampling, inspection or testing, and review of the approved changes. Quality control activities result in quality control measurements, the verified deliverables, validated changes, information about the work being performed, recommended changes, and updates to the organizational process assets, project management plan, and other project documents. In the next screen, let us look into a business scenario to understand this concept better. After reading the problem statement, click the Solution button to look at a possible answer. Six Sigma is a highly disciplined process that focuses on developing and delivering near-perfect products and services consistently. If a large volume of data is plotted over a period of time, you would most probably have a bell-shaped graph. Such graphs are also called normal distribution graph. It's called as normal distribution because any large volume of data is plotted with the intent to track variations would most probably be in a bell-shaped curve. The line corresponding to the top of the bell curve is the median of the data sample. Standard deviation concept is used to measure how far any data is from the mean. Standard deviation is also called sigma. One standard deviation from the mean covers 68% of the data. 6 sigma means 6 standard deviations from the mean. This would cover 99.99966% of the data. We will look at an example of 6 sigma in the following screen. To understand 6 sigma, let us look at an example. A tire manufacturing company produces 100,000 tires a day. It is not possible to verify each and every tire manually to ensure it is defect-free. Instead, random sample of these manufactured tires are taken and checked for defects. Assuming that the thickness of the tires is a parameter to measure defect, any tire that has a thickness more than or less than 10 millimeters is considered to be defective. Now, if you measure the actual thickness of all 100,000 tires manufactured daily and plot them on a graph, you get a normal distribution graph. One standard deviation from the mean covers 68% of the data, meaning if the thickness of the 100,000 tires are plotted, 68,000 of them lie within one standard deviation above or below the mean. Now, if a company operates at Six Sigma level, they would ensure that all tires that are up to 6 standard deviations from the mean are defect-free. Therefore, in such cases, you can expect only 3 defective tires out of 1,000,000 tires manufactured. Let us now check your understanding of the topics covered in this lesson. Here is a quick recap of what was covered in this lesson. A project is said to meet quality expectations when all the project requirements agreed in the beginning of the project are met and the resulting product is usable. Quality management includes creating and following policies and procedures that meet the project's defined quality needs. Quality planning defines the standards, templates, policies, and procedures. Quality assurance determines if the project is complying with the policies and procedures. Quality control measures specific project results against standards. Plan quality management, perform quality assurance, and control quality are the 3 project quality management processes. 7 basic quality tools are used to plan and achieve the desired levels of quality. At Six Sigma level, there would be only 3 defects out of 1,000,000 units manufactured.
If you are looking to become a skilled project manager, have a look at the postgraduate program in project management by Simplilearn.
Project human resource management includes the processes that organize, manage, and lead the project team. One of the key elements of human resource management is that each of the project team members should have clear assignment of their roles and responsibilities. In addition, even the team working on project management tasks should be a part of the project team, and they are responsible for project management functions like initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing, along with other leadership activities. In the next screen, let us understand the difference between functional and project manager. An organization may have both functional managers and project managers. The difference: functional manager is the one who handles a business function or department. For instance, the HR manager is responsible for the HR department in an organization. Therefore, an HR manager will be a functional manager. Generally, a functional manager is also a subject matter expert. The roles and responsibilities of the functional manager depend upon the core business of the organization and overall organization structure. Functional managers normally own the resources and provide the projects with necessary resources. They also negotiate with the project manager regarding resources. The project manager, on the other hand, is responsible and accountable for the success or failure of a project and the quality of the project. They are not technical experts. The project manager may not have authority over the resources, depending upon the organizational structure. They often have to negotiate with the functional manager for the resources and are responsible for the product quality. A project manager will credit the team with the success of the project and accept the blame for the failure. Now let us look at an example to understand the roles played by functional and project managers. The CEO of an organization initiates a new project to secure an ISO 9001-2008 certification for the company. Now this project would require team members from each of the company departments, and whoever is the project manager of this project will have to request the functional manager to assign one of their team members to the project. Resources assigned to the project go back to their respective departments once the project is completed. Let us now discuss the project human resource management processes in the next screen. There are 4 project human resource management processes. The first process, Plan Human Resource Management, is done as part of the Planning Process Group. The next 3 processes are part of the Executing Process Group. These processes are Acquire Project Team, Develop Project Team, and Manage Project Team. Let us now look into each of these processes in detail. In the next screen, let us begin with Plan Human Resource Management. Plan Human Resource Management is the process of identifying and documenting project roles, responsibilities, required skills, reporting relationships, and creating a staffing management plan. This process is part of the Planning Process Group. In addition to that, finalizing the project hierarchy of who reports to whom and designing the staffing management plan is also part of this process. The first input to this process is the project management plan. There could be a lot of information in the project management plan and subsidiary plans that may be relevant to the creation of the human resource management plan. For example, the project lifecycle processes, the timelines, how the work will be accomplished, etc. The other key input for this process is the activity resource requirement. Team members can be identified based on these requirements. In addition to this, enterprise environmental factors like current employment outlook, etc., are also important. For example, if the economy is booming and there are ample job opportunities for the team members, the reward and recognition system can keep the project team interested in the project. Organizational process asset is also an input to this process. An example of the organization process assets can be template or a form to request for a new resource. Let us now look at the tools and techniques used to develop human resource plan. The roles and responsibilities are captured in the form of organization charts and position descriptions. There are various ways to draw this chart. It can be either hierarchical chart, which shows the reporting function, or it can be text-based. The other technique used for developing the human resource plan is networking. This involves formal or informal interactions within the organization and outside by the project manager to identify the best team for the project depending upon various interpersonal factors. Organizational theory helps to understand how individuals come together and function as an organization. Expert judgment and meetings are required to put the human resource plan together. The output of this process is Human Resource Management Plan. This plan contains documents like Staffing Management Plan, Project Organization Chart, and Roles and Responsibilities Matrix. The Staffing Management Plan is a comprehensive document that describes when and how team members would be added to and released from the project. Another component of the Staffing Management Plan is the Recognition and Reward System. Recognition and Reward System helps project managers motivate their team. The Staffing Management Plan is relevant to the projects of a functional or matrix organization where project team members are always caught in a dilemma about prioritizing project work against regular departmental work. In the next screen, let us discuss organization charts and role descriptions. A project manager needs to make sure that there is an organization chart prepared specifically for the project. It should clearly identify the roles and the reporting relationships between them. A sample organization chart is shown on the slide. Another way of clearly delineating responsibilities among team members is by using a responsibility assignment matrix. One form of responsibility assignment matrix is the RACI chart. In the RACI chart, R stands for responsible, A for accountable, C for concerned or consulted, and I for informed. For each important activity or deliverable on the project, it needs to be clearly identified who is responsible or contributes to it, who is ultimately accountable, who is merely concerned about the success, and who needs to be informed or kept in the loop. An example of the RACI chart is shown on the screen. In this case, Project Manager John is accountable for the project plan, and the other team members, Chris, Sally, and Ting, are responsible for completing the plan. Similarly, you can note the roles of each resource in the other activities. In the next screen, let us understand Resource Histogram. Resource histogram is a method of depicting how many resources are required for the life of a project. If you observe the chart shown on the screen, it indicates that the number of staff hours required on the project increases to a peak in 2014 and then slowly tapers off. Especially for long-running projects, the level of staffing needed may vary considerably over a period. This has implications for other parts of the plan as well. For example, the cost will vary as the number of resources change. This piece of information helps a project manager to understand at what time they need to onboard and offboard resources on a project. In the next screen, let us look into the second human resource management process, that is, Acquire Project Team. Acquire Project Team is the process of confirming human resource availability and obtaining the team necessary to complete project activities. This process belongs to the Executing Process Group. Acquiring resources may not be required in the planning phase. Therefore, it is done in execution phase. Though you may plan to acquire few in the planning phase, major acquisition is done in execution phase. This may be true where large projects are run spanning over many years with several detailed activities. The key input is the Human Resource Management Plan. Enterprise environmental factors help understand which team members will be available to work on the project, how much they will cost, etc. Organizational process assets will help understand the hiring procedure of the company, the policies that govern the use of team members on the project, etc. The key technique for acquiring the project team is negotiation. As a project manager, you have to negotiate with the company's senior management, resource manager, or with prospective candidates to secure the most suitable resources on the project. Sometimes the resources may be pre-assigned to a project. This typically happens when they are the key resources, without which the project cannot take off. Sometimes the project team is acquired by getting required resources through external vendors. Most of the bigger organizations have approved a list of vendors who provide resources on a contractual basis. Nowadays, the concept of virtual team is also quite popular to get a project team. So even though the project is being conceived in one country, a big part of the team can be in another country. For example, if the project is conceived in the USA, majority of the team can be in Germany and both the teams can coordinate over the phone, email, chat, etc. Multi-criteria decision analysis is also an important tool to achieve the objectives. While acquiring the human resources for the project, it is important to consider a number of factors, such as availability, cost, skill set, experience, attitude, relocation needs, etc. These criteria have to be considered in totality and balanced out against the project's requirements. The output of this process is project staff assignments, resource calendars, and updates on project management plan. Let us now discuss the next process, develop project team. Once the project team is acquired, the next step is developing the project team. Develop project team is the process of improving competencies, team member interaction, and overall team environment to enhance project performance. This process belongs to the Executing Process Group. The inputs to this process include project staff assignments, resource calendars, and human resource management plan. One of the techniques used in developing project team is interpersonal skills. It is more of an art than a science, and this is where individual characteristics of project managers matter a lot. If the project manager genuinely commands trust and respects the team members, developing the team becomes easy. Team members look up to the project manager not only for getting project-specific instructions, but also for their career advancement as well. Social activities like celebrating a team member's birthday, going for parties outside the office, etc., helps in team building. Training is also an important tool for developing the project team, as it helps in increasing the knowledge of competencies of the team members. Sometimes, co-locating the team members at a single place also helps in developing team bonding. This is especially important if team members work from different geographical locations. Knowing a person face-to-face does help in reducing conflict. Project managers can also encourage the team members by providing recognition and rewards. Personnel assessment tools give the project manager insights into the strengths and opportunities for improvement in the team members. These tools also help in understanding members' aspirations so that the project manager can better align the project goals with the individual aspirations. Finally, the project manager should also set some ground rules in the project to ensure that team performs their work without any problems. Some such rules can be: everyone should reach office for daily meeting by 9:30 a.m. sharp. If there is more than a 10% delay in completing any activity assigned, it should immediately be escalated to project manager. If there are any unforeseen circumstances, it should be immediately brought to the notice of the project manager, etc. The output of this process is team performance assessments. This is done by the project manager to evaluate and enhance the effectiveness of the team as a whole. This is a document which explains team effectiveness. As information about the team evolves, the enterprise environmental factors may also be updated. Questions that test a project manager's role in developing a project team can be expected in the PMP exam, so ensure that you have a fair understanding of the role before you take the exam. In the next screen, let us discuss the Manage Project Team process. Managing the project team is different from developing the project team, though it is also done during the execution process group. It relates to measuring team members' performance, providing feedback, resolving issues, and managing changes to optimize project performance. To measure team members' performance, the manager should know the work assigned to them as well as their performance on the assigned work. Hence, project staff assignments and team performance assessments are listed as input to this process. The Human Resource Management Plan serves as a guideline for managing project teams. Some organizations have template and procedures to do such assessment, and that being the reason why Organization Process Asset is also one of the inputs to this process. The work performance reports, as well as issue logs, will be inputs because the team management activities have to be performed in this context. Observation and conversation is a technique where the project manager monitors and discusses the tasks done by the team. This does not imply formal project status reports, but having an informal interaction with the team before documenting the project status report. Knowing about the issue early helps in resolving them early. Formal performance appraisals are helpful in evaluating the team members' performance on the project. The project manager creates these with the help of the team supervisors. It is an established practice in most organizations to evaluate team members for their work. This may have a bearing on their future assignments, salary, promotions, etc. Since the power of appraising lies within the project manager, the project manager can use this as an effective tool for managing the team. Since multiple resources work on a single project, it is quite natural to expect conflicts. It is the responsibility of project manager to resolve conflicts. Conflict management has been discussed in detail later in the lesson. You can expect questions on conflict management in the exam. The other tool is interpersonal skills. The output of managing a project team includes corrective action recommendations, like which team members to be changed, implementing some reward system to motivate the team, etc. Updating the project management plans, documents, organization process asset, and enterprise environmental factors are the other outputs of this process. There can be questions in the PMP exam that test a project manager's skill in managing a project team. So ensure that you are aware of the inputs, tools and techniques, and outputs of managing a project team. Let us discuss team dynamics in the next screen. Any team naturally goes through several stages as it gets together. These stages are forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. In forming stage, a team formally comes together for the first time. In storming stage, disagreements start to surface. This is followed by norming, when the teams start working together and trusting each other. In performing stage, they are able to deliver results as a team. Finally, the team is adjourned when the work of the project is completed or the project is terminated. In the next screen, let us discuss conflict management. Many organizations look for people with diverse background to get different perspectives about work. If people with diverse backgrounds and culture work on a project, it is quite natural to expect conflict. Conflict often results in opportunities for improvement. The root causes of conflict can be scarce resources, scheduling priorities, and personal work styles. While the popular belief is that personality or ego can be the key reason for conflict, it is the least possible reason for conflict. As a project manager, if you find yourself in between a conflict with a team member, sit across the table and resolve it. If not, they should get their immediate managers involved and try to resolve it. To avoid conflicts, a project manager should let everyone involved have complete clarity about the project. Assign the roles and responsibilities to each of the team members clearly. Ensure that there are no overlapping responsibilities, which could be a possible cause for conflict. Sometimes boredom at work can also lead to conflict. So one of the responsibilities of project manager is to keep motivating the team members and let them work on interesting and challenging assignments. Business scenarios-based questions on conflict management can be expected in the PMP exam, so it is essential to have a fair understanding of the topic. In the next screen, let us look at conflict resolution techniques. There are 5 techniques of resolving conflict. They are withdraw or avoid, smooth or accommodate, compromise or reconcile, force or direct, collaborate, or problem solve. In withdraw or avoid, one retreats from a potential conflict situation or defers the resolution to a later date. This does not resolve the conflict, but allows for more time. In smooth or accommodate, areas of agreement are emphasized to reduce the intensity of the conflict. Again, this does not on its own result in a resolution, but it may succeed in changing the perceptions about the situation. In compromise or reconcile, there is some give and take in order to bring some satisfaction to all parties. Depending on how the process went, this may be perceived as a win-win or a lose-lose situation, because none of the parties really get what they want. In force or direct, a person in a position of authority directs how the matter should be resolved. It may be necessary to do this when the matter has to be resolved immediately. However, this may result in upsetting one or more of the conflicting parties. In collaborate or problem solving, the parties in the conflict are asked to come together to collaborate and look for a resolution to the problem. This offers the greatest likelihood of a satisfactory and permanent resolution and should be resorted to whenever possible. Business scenario-based problems, where a resolution technique has to be selected, can be expected in the PMP exam. So understanding the conflict resolution techniques is essential. In the next screen, let us look into a business scenario to understand this concept better. After reading the problem statement, click the Solution button to look at a possible answer. One of the key responsibilities of a project manager is to get work done by the team. There are certain powers that a project manager can use to get the work done. A project manager has to use a combination of techniques to get this accomplished. Various powers of a project manager are legitimate or formal, reward, penalty, expert, and referent. In legitimate or formal, project manager can formally assign a work to a team member that he or she has to do. Project manager can reward and recognize the team members. The reward could be as simple as assigning challenging or sought-after work to a team member. This can motivate good performers on the project. Sometimes project manager can penalize the team members for poor performance. Some project managers are able to command authority because of their expertise in a certain field. Project manager can be considered as a reference of higher authority to get the work done. Sometimes referent authority also arises from the personal charm or charisma of the project manager. Legitimate, reward, and penalty are the powers derived from the project manager's position in the company. Expert power exists when the project manager is an expert on the subject matter. Reward and expert are usually the best forms of authority to use. Penalty is the worst way of influencing and managing the team. A project manager should resort to this only as a last option. Regardless of the project manager having formal reporting authority over the team, they are naturally looked upon as the leaders for their projects. Project managers need to be familiar with the leadership styles and be able to tailor their style according to the needs of the project and that of the team. There are 3 leadership styles. The first one is authoritarian or autocratic. In this style, the leader sets clear expectations of the team and expects complete compliance. In a participative or democratic style, the leader offers guidance but also involves the team in decision-making. In a delegative or laissez-faire style, the leader leaves the work to the team without offering much guidance. In most circumstances, you would want your leader to employ a participative style, but there may be occasions when other styles might be appropriate. In the next screen, let us discuss McKinsey's 7S framework. A popular framework in management science is the McKinsey's 7S framework. There are 7 elements that are divided into 2 categories. An organization working on a project will have these elements already in place, and hence these become the hard elements. The first 3 elements of the 7S framework are the strategy, structure, and systems. The leader or project manager is expected to step in and exhibit soft elements to earn the mantle of leadership. The next 4 elements are shared values, skills, style, and staff. There are 47 processes in project management grouped into 10 knowledge areas and mapped into 5 process groups. In this lesson, we will look at the 7th knowledge area, that is, project communications management and its processes. In the next screen, let us understand communication. Communication can be best defined as a two-way process of exchanging information between 2 entities. As you can see on the screen, if project is an entity, the project needs to communicate with other entities in the organization, like project managers, senior management of the organization, and any other stakeholder of the project. Similarly, these entities may also have to communicate with the projects. The communication between project and the stakeholders is always two-sided. Project manager is responsible for ensuring proper communication to and from the project. In fact, a project manager spends almost 90% of his or her time on communication. You can now understand how important it is for a project manager to plan this activity well. In the next screen, let us discuss communication methods. Communication can be done in 2 ways. It can be done written or verbal. Both written as well as verbal communication can either be formal or informal. Formal means communicating by following some basic rules, whereas informal means taking a casual approach. These 2 combinations result in 4 different communication methods. They are formal written, formal verbal, informal written, and informal verbal. Formal written method is used for project management plans, project charter, and over long-distance communication. Formal verbal method is used during presentations, whereas informal written method is applicable while writing notes or emails. Informal verbal, on the other hand, is applied during conversations. You can expect questions in the PMP exam which require choosing a communication method for a given situation, so a fair understanding of the communication methods can help you score higher. In the next screen, let us look at the various communication technologies. Communication technology refers to the different media used for communicating. A few such technologies are listed on screen, among which email, fax, and telephone are a few popular communication technologies. In the next screen, let us understand the communication channel with the help of an example. Communication takes place between 4 people in a team. The lines across the members represent there can be 6 unique channels of communication existing within the team. Now, if the team comprises 10 members, how many unique channels of communication will be calculated. You can use the formula n multiplied with n minus 1 and the resulting sum divided by 2. N is the total number of people involved in communication. In this case, n equals to 10. If this is put into the formula, you will get 45 as the result. Therefore, 45 unique communication channels exist in a team of 10 people. It is difficult to manage such a large number of communication channels. Therefore, it is important to structure communication. Otherwise, everyone starts communicating everything to everyone, and it can become a real chaos in the project. In the PMP exam, you may be asked to calculate the number of communication channels in a scenario-based question, so please make a note of the formula to answer the question correctly. In the next screen, let us discuss the basic communication model. Project communications management includes the processes required to ensure that information about timely and appropriate generation, collection, distribution, storage, and ultimate disposition of project is prepared and circulated to all project stakeholders. It is the responsibility of a project manager to ensure that the information requested by the stakeholder is communicated to them. The frequency at which the information needs to be shared may also vary from stakeholder to stakeholder. For example, think about a simple process of sharing a project status report with the customer and senior management. This knowledge area explains how it should be done as per PMI. In the next screen, let us discuss the project communications management processes. There are 3 project communications management processes. Process is carried during different process groups. Plan communication management is done during planning process group. Manage communications is done during executing process group. And control communications is done during monitoring and controlling process group. In the next few screens, we will cover each of these processes in detail. Plan communications management is the process of developing an appropriate approach and plan for project communications based on stakeholders' information needs and requirements and available organizational assets. This belongs to the planning process group. Stakeholder register is an important input to this process. It is a list of all the stakeholders. The project management plan has information about a large number of the project's requirements and the stakeholders who need to receive communication of various kinds are therefore a critical input to this process. In addition to these two, organization process assets and enterprise environmental factors are also inputs to this process. Many organizations have standard templates to prepare communication management plan, which are part of the organizational process assets and enterprise environmental factors. The first technique used in this process is the communication requirements analysis, where the communication requirements of each of the stakeholders are analyzed and categorized. In this, you try to find how many of the stakeholders need similar kind of information, which can be grouped together. If you send information through an email system, all those stakeholders who need similar information can be marked in CC in the email. Next, you can decide on the communication technology. These days, email is the most widely used technology, but in few cases, you might have to send information using some other technology, like fax or registered post. For example, all government communications are done using registered post to keep a written record. Finally, you need to understand how communication really happens. That is, the communication models and the various communication methods used. You may need to conduct meetings before agreeing on and finalizing the Communications Management Plan. The Communications Management Plan is the primary output of this process, which lays down the procedures around communications in the organization. Communication Management Plan has information like which stakeholder needs what kind of information, at what frequency, and how. As a result of this process, some other project documents may also get updated. There may be questions in the PMP exam based on the Plan Communications Management process, so a fair understanding of the process will help you answer such questions correctly. In the next screen, let us look into a business scenario to understand this concept better. After reading the problem statement, click the Solution button to look at a possible answer. Managed communications is the process of creating, collecting, distributing, storing, retrieving, and the ultimate disposition of project information in accordance to the Communications Management Plan. It belongs to the Executing Process Group. Managed communications is done throughout the project lifecycle. Everything cannot be planned during communication planning, so managed communications takes care of responding to unexpected requests for information as well. Communications Management Plan is an important input. Work performance reports have information regarding project performance and status information. Organizational process assets are the standard templates created for the status report by organizations. In some organizations, there are guidelines for communication distribution. Enterprise environmental factors are the other inputs to this process. Various tools and techniques are used in this process. Communications technology represents the means of technology, that is, email, instant messaging, telephone conferencing, etc., that are used to exchange information. The use of communication models helps you determine the technique that is best suited for a particular situation. Communication methods are the various methods used to communicate. For example, whether it is interactive or offline, whether information is being pushed by the provider or pulled by the recipient, etc. Information management systems help design a framework for managing the information within a project. That is, how it is acquired, where it is stored, and how it is distributed and destroyed. In performance reporting, all the information is synthesized in the form of performance reports that are later distributed to the appropriate stakeholders and forms an important part of the communications strategy on a project. The first and primary output of this process is the communications messages that are generated during the project. The other outputs include project management plan updates, project document updates, and organizational process assets updates. In the next screen, let us discuss controlled communications process. Controlled communications is the process of monitoring and controlling communications throughout the entire project lifecycle to ensure the information needs of the project stakeholders are met. It is part of the monitoring and controlling process group. The inputs to this process are the project communications, project management plan, and issue log, which has a list of issues that are raised by different project stakeholders, data related to the work being performed on the project, and various other project documents which may have to be communicated. Other inputs include work performance data and organizational process assets. Let us look at the tools and techniques in detail. The information management systems provide tools to collect, consolidate, and present the information in the form of cogent, concise communications. Expertise must be sought from different stakeholders on how you should go about this process. Several meetings may be needed to ensure the efficiency and efficacy of the communications. The major outputs of this process is the work performance information, which indicates that the work performance data has been analyzed, interpreted, and presented in an easily comprehensible form. This process may also give rise to change requests, updates to the project management plan, project documents, and organizational process assets. In the next screen, let us look into a business scenario to understand this concept better. After reading the problem statement, click the Solution button to look at a possible answer.
If you are looking to become a skilled project manager, have a look at the postgraduate program in project management by Simplilearn.
Project risk management includes the processes of conducting risk management planning, identification, analysis, response planning, and controlling risk on a project. It has been mentioned in practice standard for project risk management that project risk management aims to identify and prioritize risks in advance of their occurrence and provide action-oriented information to project managers. Project risk management is an integral part of the project management. It provides an approach through which uncertainty can be understood, assessed, and managed within the projects. Effective project risk management is essential for the success of a project. Let us discuss the interdependencies between project risk management and project management in the following screen. When you say risk management is an integral part of project management, it means that they are dependent on each other. The output of many project management processes can be considered as an input for risk management and vice versa. For example, by getting the information about the project progress in terms of schedule, you realize that it is not in line with the expected progress, which can become a risk for the project. So, risk management plays an important role to decide what response must be given or what actions are to be taken. Similarly, based on the response of risk management, the project management plan with respect to the deliverable will change. As you already know, all the projects have uncertainty. Project management can be seen as an attempt to control this uncertain environment through the use of structured techniques like estimating, planning, cost control, activity allocation, earned value analysis, monitoring, and review meetings. Project risk management provides an approach by which uncertainty can be understood, assessed, and managed within projects. So, effective project management is a critical success factor for project success. Let us continue this discussion on project risk management and project management in the next screen. The management or project manager should not look at project risk management as an optional activity or overhead. The interface between project risk management and other processes of project management must be cleared to address the uncertainty. The outputs of project risk management should be considered within the project management processes. They can impact various aspects like estimating resources, cost or duration, assessing the impact of scope changes, resource allocation, and project progress reports to the stakeholders. The effectiveness of project management process is increased by using the information and results from project risk management. On the other hand, some of the outputs of other project management processes, such as work breakdown structure, WBS, estimation of schedule and cost, and assumptions are important prerequisites for project risk management. Let us first discuss how we can make risk management process effective in the next screen. You make risk management more successful, effective, or consistent by using processes, methodologies, or a set of activities. However, before using these processes, you should keep some points in mind. Risk management process should be scalable to meet different elements like available resources, methodology and processes used, tools and techniques used, supporting infrastructure, review and update frequency, and reporting requirements. It is important to have a clear understanding of the risk threshold that defines the views of key stakeholders on acceptable levels of risk. It is equally important to identify the framework to manage the risk, starting from the initiation stage to its successful implementation. Project risk management activities, resources, and attention should be appropriated to the project. Since different projects warrant different levels of risk management application, some of the actions required for tailoring are defining objectives against which risks will be identified, defining how the elements like resources, methodologies, tools, infrastructure, and communication are scalable for the project, and defining risk thresholds, tolerances, and the assessment of framework. The outputs should be documented, communicated, reviewed to ensure common understanding of the scope and objectives for the project risk management processes. In this screen, we will look into the high-level activities carried out in the 6 project risk management processes. The first process is Plan Risk Management. In this process, you define the scope and objectives of the project risk management processes. The key output of this process is the Project Risk Management Plan. The second process is Identify Risks. In this process, you identify maximum possible known risks. You will be focusing on the tools and techniques used in the process of identifying risks. The key output is the risk register. The third process is Perform Qualitative Risk Analysis. This process is about prioritizing risks and ranking them as high, medium, and low for further action. The focus will be on tools used to prioritize risks. The fourth process is Perform Quantitative Risk Analysis. In this process, you evaluate the combined effect of risks on the overall project outcome. The risks are quantified numerically. The fifth process is Plan Risk Responses. This process helps us determine appropriate response strategies and actions for each individual risk and for overall project risk, and integrates them into overall project management plan. The sixth and last process is Control Risks. This process focuses on implementing risk response plans, tracking identified risks, monitoring residual risks, identifying new risks, and evaluating risk process effectiveness throughout the project. In the next screen, we will look into the flow of all these 6 processes and how it works logically. There are 47 processes in project management grouped into 10 knowledge areas and mapped to 5 process groups. In this lesson, we will look at the 10th knowledge area, that is, Project Stakeholder Management and its processes. In the next screen, let us understand who stakeholders are. A stakeholder is anybody who has a stake in the project. A stakeholder may be an individual, a group, or an organization who may affect or be affected by or perceived to be affected by a decision, activity, or outcome of a project. Further, the nature of the impact can be positive or negative, thus giving rise to the notion of positive or negative stakeholders. Irrespective of whether a stakeholder is positive or negative, it is important to engage with the stakeholders and get them involved in the project. This can make a critical difference to the success or failure of the project. A single disgruntled stakeholder can bring the entire project to its knees, whereas an actively engaged and influential stakeholder can have the opposite effect. Let us understand who the common stakeholders of a project are. There are several categorizations of stakeholders. The project managers themselves are important stakeholders. The project team members represent stakeholders in the project. The senior management of the organization, which is working on the project, has a stake in the project. The sponsor, that is, the person or entity that provides the money and resources for the project and essentially champions the project, is an important stakeholder. The customer, which may be different from the sponsor, is a stakeholder as well. For instance, in many of the projects in the social sector, the sponsor may be the government or a development agency, whereas the customers would be the people who actually benefit from it. The end users, which may be different from the customers or the sponsors, are stakeholders too. The vendors or suppliers who provide goods or services to the project are important stakeholders. People whose lives may be impacted by the output of the project are also stakeholders. For example, if a highway project requires possession of privately owned land, people whose land is being taken away are the stakeholders. If the construction of a dam or water reservoir benefits the downstream farming communities, they are the stakeholders here. Competitors who provide alternative goods or services are stakeholders too. Sometimes environmentalists or other social groups may become stakeholders. The government or political leadership may become stakeholders for projects in the public domain. It is sufficient to state that there could potentially be hundreds of stakeholders for a large project. It is in the interest of the project manager and the project team to clearly identify all such stakeholders up front and then actively manage them throughout the project. In the next screen, let us discuss the classification models for stakeholder analysis. Not all the stakeholders have the same amount of influence or power over the project. Therefore, the way to manage each stakeholder needs to be calibrated based on a proper classification of the stakeholders. This is the role of the classification model. You can come up with a grid that maps the power of the stakeholders, the interest they have, the influence they may have, or the impact that they can have on the project through the power interest, power influence, or influence impact grids. It can be represented by mapping stakeholders to a power or interest grid. The diagram on the screen has x-axis, which represents interest level, and y-axis, which represents the power level. Based on the various combinations of power levels and interest levels, the grid can be divided into 4 quadrants. The stakeholders on the top right quadrant, with high power and high interest, need to be managed closely. That is, you have to monitor their involvement and engagement very closely. The stakeholders on the bottom right quadrant, with high interest but low power, need to be kept in the loop. That is, you should share information with them and keep them regularly informed. The stakeholders on the top left quadrant, with high power but low interest, can be managed by keeping them happy, for example, by making sure that their interests and opinions are taken into consideration. The stakeholders on the left bottom quadrant, with low power and low interest, may be managed less actively by simply monitoring how things are going with them. The salience model describes classes of stakeholders based on their power, ability to impose their will, urgency, need for immediate attention, and legitimacy, appropriateness of their involvement level. This is a useful framework to guide the stakeholder management strategy on a project. Practice creating power grids for business scenarios. This will help in understanding the level of engagement a project manager needs to maintain with various stakeholders. In the next screen, let us discuss the Stakeholder Engagement Assessment Matrix. The Stakeholder Engagement Assessment Matrix allows visualizing the current and desired states of a stakeholder's involvement in the project. The 5 levels of involvement are as unaware, resistant, neutral, supportive, and leading. Unaware is where the stakeholder is not aware of the project or its impact. Resistant is where the stakeholder is aware of the impacts and is resistant to change. Neutral is where the stakeholder is aware of the project and is neither supportive nor in opposition to the project. Supportive is where the stakeholder is aware of the project and its impact and is supportive of the change. Leading is where the stakeholder is aware of the project and impacts and is actively engaged to ensure that the project is successful. Let us now look at the matrix. The table has 1 row per stakeholder identified. You place C in the column which best indicates the current level of engagement for that stakeholder. Then you place D in the column which best indicates the desired state of engagement. This table can be a quick visualization tool that helps understand where work has to be done in the stakeholder management activities. In the next screen, let us discuss the skills required for stakeholder management. Stakeholder management is both an art and a science. Since it involves dealing with people, and people are inherently nonlinear and unpredictable, there is no one size that fits all strategies or tools that will work while managing them. However, a project manager may use a few traits and techniques while managing stakeholders, which are classified as interpersonal skills and managerial skills. A project manager must possess good interpersonal skills. That is, must invest the time and energy to build trust. This involves multiple things, such as establishing a personal rapport, following through on commitments, being punctual, etc. Once the trust is established, it helps in smoothing many difficult bends. Conflict management is an important skill for a project manager. While communicating with stakeholders, the project manager must practice active listening. They must not assume that they have all the answers. Instead, they should spend some time to understand the issues and the stakeholders' points of view. This alone can go a long way in smoothing ruffled feathers and building constructive relationships. Resistance to change is natural. A project manager must know how to convert that into a positive energy in its favor. Managerial skills that may help in accomplishing the project objectives. A project manager must be able to build consensus among the group. While absolute uniformity may not always be possible or desirable, the project manager must use techniques to ensure widespread discussions and arrive at a path that the group can buy into. The project manager must be able to influence people, often without necessarily being in the position of authority. The project manager must be skillful to negotiate agreements. The project manager must be able to understand and modify organizational behavior in order to move the project in a certain direction. Earned value technique is an excellent way to track the project progress against the project plan. It is a method of measuring the project performance objectively and comparing it against the project baseline. Results from an earned value analysis indicate deviation of the project from cost and schedule baselines. Baseline is the initial approved value along with approved changes. Therefore, schedule baseline is the first approved project schedule along with approved changes. There are various terms used in earned value technique. Planned value is the authorized budget assigned to the scheduled work. Earned value is the work performed in terms of budget authorized for that work. Actual cost is the cost incurred in work performed. Budget at completion is the budgeted amount for the total work. Estimate at completion is the expected total cost for the project. Estimate to complete is the expected cost to finish all the remaining project work. Variance at completion is the projected budget surplus or deficit at the end of the project. All the parameters displayed on the screen are measured in terms of cost. You may come across business scenario-based questions on earned value management in the PMP exam, so ensure that you develop a clear understanding of this topic. Let us look at an example of a planned value in the next screen. Planned value is the estimated value of the work planned. This value is measured in terms of currency, say dollar. If the planned value is $340, then the work planned is worth $340. How do you calculate earned value? The solution is add the budget allocated to each of the activities that have been completed at the point of time. The resulting value is the earned value. In the next screen, let us look at the formula used to calculate earned value. In cost variance, negative means the project is over budget. Positive means the project is under budget. Similarly, in schedule variance, negative means the project is behind schedule, whereas positive means the project is ahead of schedule. The value of the next two parameters, Cost Performance Index, CPI, and Schedule Performance Index, SPI, values vary between 0 and 1. For example, a CPI of 0.8 implies that 80 cents of work is obtained for every dollar spent in the project. Similarly, if SPI is 0.9, it implies that project is progressing at only 90% of the speed originally planned. The next parameter is Estimate at Completion, or EAC. There are different ways of calculating the EAC value. The method used depends on how the cost and schedule variances are expected to play for the rest of the project. BAC by CPI is used if you expect that the current cost performance will continue until the end of the project. AC plus BAC minus EV is used if you expect that the rest of the project will be managed at the budgeted rate. AC plus BAC minus EV by the product of CPI and SPI is used if you want to factor in the impact of the cost as well as schedule variances. AC plus ETC is used if you want to re-evaluate the project based on a forecast value for the estimated cost of the remainder of the project. The next parameter is Estimate to Complete, or ETC, which is the cost of project from this point to the end. This is calculated by subtracting the actual cost from the estimate at completion. In addition, variance at completion can be calculated by subtracting the estimate at completion from the budget at completion. Variance at completion is the cost estimation whether it is over or under budget. Another parameter is the To Complete Performance Index, or TCPI. This is the cost performance needed to achieve a desired outcome. For example, if the project needs to be managed to the original budget, BAC, then TCPI, that is, the CPI that must be maintained for the rest of the project, is calculated as BAC minus EV by BAC minus AC. Similarly, if it has to be managed within a revised target, say EAC, then TCPI is calculated as BAC minus EV by EAC minus AC. Before the start of the PMP exam, please make a note of the formulas of earned value technique. In the next screen, let us look into a business scenario to understand this concept better. After reading the problem statement, click the Solution button to look at a possible answer. Let us take the example of a software development project. There are 4 phases, and each phase takes a month to complete and is expected to cost $10,000. The phases are planned to be completed one after the other. The status of the project at the end of the month 3 is summarized in the table. Requirements definition is completed and actual spending on this is $10,000. Architecture and design is done and actual spending on this is $12,000. Development and unit testing is only 50% done, though it was supposed to be completed by 3rd month. It has cost $9,000 until date. System testing and go live has not yet started. Note, S indicates start time, F indicates finish time, and PF indicates that it is partly finished at the end of the month. Based on the above information, calculate the CV, SV, CPI, and SPI of the project. Let us look at a solution in the next screen. Before we end this lesson, let us also look at a few definitions that might be useful for your PMP examination. Law of diminishing return. This means the more you put into something, the less you get out of it. For example, doubling the number of resources working on a project will not necessarily have the time. Working capital. The amount of money the company has to invest on the project and the day-to-day company operations. Funding limit reconciliation. The process of comparing the planned expenditure in a given period with the available funding for that period. Large assets purchased by the company lose value over time. This is called depreciation. There are 2 forms of depreciation, straight line and accelerated. Same amount of depreciation is taken every year. For instance, a car with a price tag of $10,000 and useful life of 10 years is depreciated $1,000 per year. At the end of the 10th year, the value of the car is considered 0 for all accounting purposes. Accelerated depreciation depreciates faster than the straight line depreciation. For instance, a car with a price tag of $10,000 depreciates $3,000 the first year, $1,500 the next year, $1,000 the 3rd year, and so on.
So first, let's find out what exactly is CPM. Now, the critical path method is an algorithm that's used in project management to schedule project activities. Now, one of the biggest advantages of CPM is that it gives you a model. You create a model through which you can determine the different tasks that are required to complete the project, the dependencies between these tasks, and the duration required to complete a particular activity. The critical path is the longest stretch of activities and a measure of them from start to finish. Now, to understand the critical path method, there are certain things that you need to know. So let's have a look at a completed critical path method diagram or a network diagram. So this is somewhat what a final version should look like. So here you can see these circles with numbers in them. We'll also need ABC. So let's talk about what this is. So the two major components in a diagram, a network diagram, are events and activities. So as you can see here, a circle, this circle with a number in between it, represents a particular event. This is present at the start and end of an activity. So here, A, B, C, D, E, F represent activities. And each activity, like I mentioned, has a start and an end node. So for activity A, this node, node number 1, is called the tail node. And event 2 or node 2 is known as the head node. Likewise, each of these activities have a different tail and head node. There are also other things that you need to know before you can start drawing your own network diagram. The network that you create should have a unique starting node. Here you can see there's only one starting node, one unique starting node, which is node number 1. There's no multiple nodes starting off the network. Then the network should have a unique completion node, which is node number 6 here. There's only a single node which completes the entire network. No activity should be represented by more than one arc in the network, which means that this arrow that you see, this represents an arc. There's only one activity responding to an arc. This means that no two activities can have the same starting node as well as ending node. And finally, there's this thing known as a dummy activity, which is represented by dotted lines between two nodes. Say, for example, 4 and 3. So this dummy activity represents a relationship between node 4 and node 3. But at the same time, there's no duration or there's no activity. And if there is, that activity will have 0 value, unlike every other activity that you see in the network. So this is the basics of the critical path method. Let's understand this better with an example. Our objective here is to determine the critical path of this data represented here. Now here you can see, let's have a look at each of these different columns. We have activity, immediate predecessor, and duration. Now the duration, let's assume, is in months. So let's write that down. Right. So now let's have a look at activity and immediate predecessor, because that's what's currently important. So here we have activity A, who does not have any immediate predecessor. Similarly, activities B and C don't have immediate predecessors as well. So first, let's draw activity A. So since it does not have an immediate predecessor, it will have a node of its own connecting to it. So first, let's draw node number 1. This is node number 2. Let's connect them both. Here we write down the activity connecting them and the duration, which is 3. Likewise, let's have a look at activity B. It also does not have an immediate predecessor. Let's see which other activities have B as its immediate predecessor. We have activity D as well as activity G. So let's draw that too. It's node 3, B, 4 months duration. Next up, we have activity C. C also does not have an immediate predecessor, but it also acts as an immediate predecessor for activities H and I. Let's draw a node for activity C. Number 4. Let's write down the duration, which is 6. Now, let's have a look at activity D. Now, D is preceded by activity B. However, a combination of C and D act as immediate predecessors for H and I, which means that C and D will have a common point of origin, just right here. So let's connect node 3 and node 4. This represents the activity D. which is 3 months. Now let's have a look at activity E, which is preceded by activity A. So now let's have a look at activity E. The immediate predecessor for activity E is A, so we can directly draw that, and as you can see here, there's no combination of different activities here, so we can draw E directly. So let's draw the node. There we go. Let's connect the node. 5. E, which is 9. Right then, now let's go to F. F is preceded by A. But at the same time, let's have a look at where F is used. F is also an immediate predecessor of K, which is a combination of F, G, H. So let's come back to F in a bit. Let's go to G. So as of now, we've completed A, B, C, D, and E. Let's skip F for now and go to G. G is preceded by B. At the same time, it is used as a combination of F, G, H, which means G can come here. Which is 4. So G is complete. Now there's only F left. Now H. H is a combination of both C, D, which means its origin point comes from here. So whose origin point is the node 4? Both H and I originate from the node 4. So as we can notice here, F, G, and H both act as immediate predecessors for K and L, which means at some point they all need to unite, which is exactly here at node number 6. So let's combine H and G. Which has a duration of 5. So let's now go back to F. Now F we can combine to node number 6 since we know that F, G, and H come together at some point. So let's combine F to this node. There you go. F with the duration of 1. Now we're done with node number 6. Or we're also done with H. Now for activity I. Now activity I is preceded by C, D. I also acts as predecessor for M. So it's an independent activity. So let's add that separately here. Preceding 4. Let's connect that. Node 7 with I, which is 4. Right. I is complete. Let's go to J. J is preceded by E right here and is only used as combination for N in the end. So at some point J and K need to combine. As you can see here, L, M, and N don't act as immediate predecessors, which means they represent final nodes, or they connect to the final node, as you found out earlier, which is one of the rules when you're creating a network for yourself. So let's draw K. K and L are both preceded by F, G, and H. But we also know that for N, J and K connect with each other, which means we can draw J here. So finish J. And since J and K together connect towards N, we can also assume that K goes from here, from node 6 to 8. That's right, K, which has a duration of 6. Now for L. Now L is preceded by FGH, but it is not an immediate predecessor for any other item, which means that it connects to the final node right here. That would be node 9. L, which duration is 3. So now we have M and N left, M is preceded by I, so let's draw that. N is preceded by J and K. This is N is 9, and M is 6. So now the network is complete. And now let's find out how to create the critical path. So to understand the critical path, or to determine the critical path, we need two paths, the earliest start times and the latest completion times, which are both represented by ES and LC. Now the earliest start time refers to the earliest starting times of each node. Likewise for latest completion time. So each node has its own earliest start time and latest completion time. They are represented in a box. So we'll create boxes for each of these nodes. There you go. And each of these boxes need to be divided. So in these boxes, the lower half represents the earliest start time and the upper half represents the latest completion time. So first off, we'll find out the earliest start time. So the process of finding the earliest start time is referred to as forward pass. Now the earliest start time can be determined with a formula. So the formula is earliest start time of the ending node is equal to the max earliest starting time of the starting node plus the distance between them. So let's see what we mean here. So one thing you need to know is that the earliest starting time of node 1 is always 0. So let's write that down in a different color. It's always 0. So let's have a look at the earliest start time for node number 2. So the earliest start time when it comes to the previous node, which is node number 1, is 0 plus the distance, which is 3, which means the earliest start time for node number 2 is 3. Let's write that down. Let's have a look at node number 3. Here the earliest start time for node number 3. 0 is the earliest start time of the previous node plus 4, which is the distance, which equals 4. Let's put that down here. So that's 4. So now let's have a look at node number 4. So here, however, there's a difference. Since there are two nodes coming towards it, which is from 1 to 4 and from 3 to 4, we'll need to determine the maximum from both of these coming nodes. So for the earliest starting time for node number 4, it's either 0 plus 6, which is C here, 6, or 4 plus 3, which is B plus D, 7. So here, considering that we are taking the maximum of both, we'll have to choose 7, which we'll write down here. I hope you guys understood how we did that, which is basically we took the maximum of both the values that are coming towards the node number 4. Likewise, we'll have a look at some of the other ones that are coming soon. So let's have a look. So here we have a similar issue for node number 6. So for node number 6, we have 3 points coming towards the node. There's F, G, and H. So which of the following is the least? Let's find out. So here 3 plus 1 is 4. So for ES5, earliest start time, node number 6 would be, it's either 3 plus 1, 4, or 4 plus 4, 8, or 7 plus 5, 12. So since we're taking the maximum, let's take number 12 and write that down. So the earliest start time for the node 6 is 12. Likewise, let's have a look at node number 5. Since there are no different nodes connected to it, we'll just have to add the number from the previous starting node, which is 3, and the distance, which is 9. We combine to form 12. Let's write that down. Now for node number 8. So when you have a look at node number 8, you can see that there are two nodes connected to it. There's one from 5 and one from 6. So let's have a look which one we'll select. So it's either 12 plus 3, which is 15, or 12 plus 6, which is 18. So let's go ahead with number 18. So the earliest starting time for this node is 18. So let's have a look at node number 7. So since there are no other different nodes connected to it, we can directly go with 7, which is the earliest starting time of the previous node, plus the distance, which is 4. This is totaling to 11. And finally, we have node number 9. So 9 has 3 different points connecting to it, which is 18 plus 9, 12 plus 3, 11 plus 6, which you can see here, 18 plus 9, 12 plus 3, 11 plus 6. As you can see, the winner is the maximum, which is from node 8, which is 27. And like that, we've completed the forward pass, which we've determined the earliest starting time of each of these nodes. Now, let's have a look at the latest completion time. For this, we'll start from node number 9 and work our way back to node number 1. So for latest completion time of the last node is always equal to the earliest starting time, which means that here, latest completion time of this node is 27. Now the formula for latest completion time is latest completion time of the previous node is equal to the minimum latest completion time of the head node minus the distance between them. So let's see what we're talking about. Let's go to node number 8. So basically, when there are multiple connections shooting out of a particular node, we need to decide a number of different options. In this case, node 8 is directly connected to node 9. Basically, we can calculate the latest completion time for node 8 by using the formula directly, which is 27 minus 9, which will get 18. So let's put that here. So latest completion time for node 8 is 18. Let's have a look at number 7. Here again, we have a direct connection between node 7 and node 9. So therefore, we can find the latest completion time for node 7 by directly applying it with the formula, which is 27 minus 6, which is 21. So let's write that down. Let's go to node number 6. Here there are 2 points extending out of node 6, which means we'll need to choose from 2. Here we have 27 minus 3, which is 24, or 18 minus 6, which is 12. Now we need to choose the minimum of the both, so let's go with 12. Let's write that down. So the latest completion time for node 6 is 12. Now let's go to node number 5. So for node number 5, the latest completion time will be, since we're directly connected to node number 8, 18 minus 3, which is 15. Let's write that down. Let's go to node number 4, which has 2 points connecting out of it, H and I, to node 6 and 7. So let's choose among the two. So for node number 4, it'll be either 12 minus 5, which is 7, or 21 minus 4, which is 17. So which one should we choose? The minimum, which means the connection towards node 6 is the correct answer, which is 7. 12 minus 5, 7. Now for node number 3. So node number 3 has 2 points shooting out of it. So we need to choose from either the connection to node 6 or node 4. So for node 6, it's 12 minus 4, which is 8. Or it's from node number 4, which is 7 minus 3, which is 4. Hence, we'll take the connection from node number 4. So let's take the latest completion time of node number 3 as 4. Now for node number 2. So since there are two connections coming out of it, we'll need to choose between the connection to node 5 or the connection to node 6. So for node 6, we can directly conclude that choosing the node number 6 would be a bad idea because the final answer would be 12 minus 1, which is 11. Or it could be 15 minus 9, which is 6. So clearly, the answer is 6 since we're taking the minimum of the both. And finally, we've come to node number 1. So here, the final answer, it's either A, B, or C, which is node 2, 3, or 4. So for node 2, we have 6 minus 3, which is 3. For node 3, we have 4 minus 4, which is 0. And for node 4, we have 7 minus 6, which is 1. Clearly, we have a winner, which is node number 3. So let's write the latest completion time. It's 0. And there we go, the backward pass is now complete. So how do we now find the critical path? The critical path can be determined with the help of satisfying certain conditions. Let's have a look at what they are. So to determine the critical path, we need to satisfy three conditions. They are the earliest starting time and the latest completion time need to be equal. Similarly, for the head node, the earliest starting time and the latest completion time also have to be same. And finally, the earliest start time of the second node, which is the head node, minus the earliest starting time of the tail node should be equal to the latest completion time of the head node minus the latest completion time of the tail node. They should also be equal to the distance between the two nodes. So let's have a look at which of the following satisfy these conditions. As you can see clearly, node number 1, node number 3, node number 4, node number 6, node number 8, and node number 9. So all of these nodes I mentioned satisfy these two criteria. Let's have a look at if it satisfies the third criteria. Here we have 4 minus 0, which is 4, 4 minus 0, which is 4. We have the correct answer. 7 minus 4, which is 3. Similarly, 7 minus 4, which is 3. 12 minus 7, which is 5. Likewise, all of them connect, which means we have just found out our critical path. The critical path for this question is B, D, H, K, and N. The critical path is B, D, H, N. And thanks to the help of the critical path, we can also determine the maximum amount of time to complete our project, which we can determine by combining the durations of each of the members of the critical path, which is 4 plus 3 plus 5 plus 6 plus 9, which is equal to 27, which means 27 months. And there you go. We've just solved a question with the critical path method.
Agile project management, as the name suggests, is a flexible approach to building a project. In Agile project management, the project is broken down into several stages or sprints. Agile does not work on the principle of delivering the final product at the end of the project. It works on delivering sections of a project or mini projects. The process of project management in the case of Agile is Agile based. So there won't be any central control of project manager as it was there in the traditional way of working. Before we move forward, let's have a look at the Agile development cycle. Agile methodologies consist of several small cycles or sprints. At the end of each stage, we get a mini project. There's a product backlog that explains new features, changes in the existing features, and several other improvements in the project. Then we have a sprint backlog, which has a list of tasks that are to be completed during each sprint. The sprint consists of planning, designing, execution, testing, and deployment stages. And at the end of each sprint, a mini project is delivered. With every sprint, new features are added to the product, which plays a significant role in the overall project growth. After all the sprints and early validation in the development, the final deliverable has a fewer chances of failure. Let's now have a look at some reasons why industries have started moving towards Agile project management. The first reason is high product quality. When we talk about high product quality, we refer to the build of the product as per stakeholders' demands. Testing is performed at short intervals of time wherever needed to ensure high quality of the product. Then another reason is customer satisfaction. Whatever is done in the project is known by the customer. The deliveries don't take longer durations as they used to take in the case of traditional ways. The changes may be provided by the customer in the execution phase of the project. Third reason is reduced risk. Since the project is divided into sprints, so if the risk affects one sprint, it doesn't mean whole of the project will be at risk. The process of risk analysis continues to take place with all the other processes. Another significant reason for agile project management is better and faster return on investment. The project is now developed in several sprints and each sprint has its own version. Therefore, the project becomes market ready after a few sprints only. Since the projects can now be released with ease and in shorter duration, this helps the organization to stay ahead in competition with respect to other organizations which have still not moved to agile methodology. Now we shall check the principles of agile project management. There are 10 principles for successful agile project management. The first principle is the satisfaction of the customer by delivering the project fast and with least number of errors. The next principle refers to decreasing the amount of time between the phase of planning and delivery. The third principle states that the team of managers and developers work together and increase the productivity of their work. The next principle states that the changes requested by the stakeholders can be taken into consideration and worked upon during the development phase as well. The fifth principle pays attention to the factor of coordination among the team members. Then the sixth principle refers to the process of monitoring and tracking the progress of the project at the end of each sprint and making amendments wherever needed. Moving on, the next principle states that there must be a feeling of trust and support towards the team to complete the project's objectives. The next principle emphasizes on face-to-face conversations with the development team. The face-to-face conversation helps in both solving problems and easy knowledge sharing. Then the ninth principle emphasizes on finding solutions and maximizing the amount of work done with simplicity. This ensures timely completion of tasks by all the team members. The last principle states that Scrum tools like Monday.com or Zoho Sprints must be used to simplify the complicated codes, which further helps in saving time. We shall now see the steps in Agile project management. The goal of Agile methodology is to produce shorter development life cycles and more frequent product releases than traditional waterfall project management. So we will now check 6 steps in Agile project methodology. The first step in the process is project planning. Project planning includes feasibility study, development of scope, breaking the project into executable tasks or sprints, and then estimating the amount of time needed to complete those sprints. The second step is the step of roadmap creation. A roadmap is a plan of action that shows how a project shall evolve over time. A list of all the features that the final product should have is created, and the steps to achieve those features are taken. The next important step is release planning. Since we are doing the project keeping in mind the Agile project methodology, the project will complete in sprints. That means there will be the release of features at the end of each cycle. And unlike the traditional waterfall model, the development cycles will be smaller. The fourth step in Agile project management is sprint planning. The sprints are made keeping in mind what all is to be accomplished in that particular step. At the beginning of each sprint, the goal of that sprint is decided and steps to achieve that goal are taken. The next step in the process emphasizes on daily meetings. There are short meetings every day to discuss if the team was able to finish the task for each sprint and check if there are any amendments that are required. Each team member talks about what they achieved in the last sprint and what are they going to work on in the next sprint. The last step is the step of sprint review and retrospective. There are 2 meetings after each sprint. First meeting is for the sprint review. This meeting is with the stakeholders to show them the finished product. This helps both sides to build a relationship and discuss if there are any issues in the end product. The second meeting is for having a sprint retrospective. This meeting involves the stakeholders to discuss what went well and what went wrong during the sprint. Sprint retrospective takes place after the sprint review and before the next sprint planning. Now when we know the steps needed for Agile project methodology, we must understand some Agile project management frameworks. There are several frameworks available today. Here, we will be discussing some of the most popular frameworks. The first framework we will discuss is the Kanban framework. Kanban framework is a well-known framework for implementing Agile software development. In the case of Kanban framework, work items are represented on the Kanban board, which helps all the team members to see the state of every piece of work at any time. Kanban board not only helps in visualizing the work but also optimizing the workflow among the team. The next framework we will discuss today is the Scrum framework. Scrum framework is a popular framework for managing complex knowledge work like in the field of research and advanced technologies. Scrum is a simple framework that helps teams work together and learn through their experiences gained while working on a problem. The third framework we will see today is the hybrid framework. The hybrid framework is a combination of agile methodology and non-agile methodology. In the case of a hybrid framework, planning is done using the traditional way of project management, while the execution and delivery is done using the agile methodology. Since the hybrid is a combination of the two, it handles the requirement changes and delivers the product in different stages. The fourth and the last framework we will see is the lean framework. The lean framework works on the principle of providing maximum customer value and creating zero waste. It focuses on optimizing the flow of products all through the value stream. This helps in eliminating waste all through the process and create processes that requires less human efforts. This also simplifies the process of information management and makes it more accurate. Finally, let's have a look at some companies that have opted for agile project management. Today, around 22% of the organizations worldwide have all their teams working on the principle of agile project methodology. Let's have a look at some of the most prominent companies in the world that use agile project management. In the list, we have IBM, Cisco, AT&T, Microsoft, Philips, and Samsung.
So what is project management tools? Why should we use project management tools while doing project management? So project management tools help to keep a streamlining flow in project management processes. The tools help the team or an individual to carry out the steps of project management in an effective and efficient manner. So project management tools, features and functionalities. So basically a project management tool should have minimum fulfilling these features and functionality. They should be simple to use, customizable, they should have API for integration, it should help in collaboration, it should help in risk analysis and real-time reporting. When we say simple to use, the project management tools need to be suitable for every project we do. One needs to find a tool that will have a pleasant interface and increase work productivity. The project management tool must be easy to configure according to the organization needs. Every project management approach, every project management templates, every artifact needs tailoring and adaptation before adopting as part of the practice. There are business patterns that change every day, so having customizable tool is an added advantage. API or application programming interface enables the sharing of data and application between devices. The tools with API integration allow seamless connectivity amongst the team. The project management tools must allow for collaboration so that the whole team can work together. Collaboration not only makes the task easier but also increases the productivity of the project. Risk analysis helps to identify, analyze and respond to the risk quickly and efficiently. It needs to capture all the details of the risks, their impacts, the probability of occurrence of the risk and risk responses and tracking them throughout the project life cycle. The real-time reporting enables the access of data at different locations of the project management. One can assess or access data at any time about the project's current status. This will help in having a real-time update about the project status to the stakeholders of the project. The top 10 project management tools what we have today in the market are Monday.com, Rick, Jira Software, Trello, Asana, Teamwork, Meister Task, Basecamp, Oracle's Primavera and Microsoft Project Management Tool. So let us look at these one by one. So Monday.com was released during the year 2012 and it is known for providing features to enable flexible planning and monitoring capabilities. The website where you can find Monday.com access the tool is www.monday.com. So this tool is used by more than 90,000 teams across the globe. Monday.com features and functionality includes it is easy for collaboration, highly customizable, excellent for analytics, integration with Dropbox, Google Drive and Pipedrive is possible. So pricing, the basic version is $25 on monthly basis, so which will provide you 5 GB storage, 1 board per dashboard, and it is billed annually. The standard package includes 5 GB storage, 3 boards per dashboard, and it is $39 per month, which is billed annually. Professional includes unlimited storage, 10 boards per dashboard, and it costs $59 per month, and it is billed annually. Monday.com is used by the following customers, organizations of Monday.com, that is Carlsberg, Discovery Channel, Adidas, Tom, Philips, etc. RIC is another project management tool which was released in 2006. So this application provides its user with robust features and allows them to collaborate with each other. The website to access the tool is www.ric.com, and this is used by over 18,000 organizations across the globe. The features of RIC includes it has collaborative editing, flexible workflow, real-time reporting, and efficient work management. The pricing includes 0 to 5 users. It has basic integrations and which is free, whereas professional includes $9.8 per user per month, which has a slabs of 5, 10, and 15 users, and RIC proof free trial. Business version has 5 to 200 users and RIC proof free trial, whereas $24.80 per user per month. The companies which uses the RIC tools are Airbnb, L'Oreal, TeamViewer, Tiffany & Co, etc. Now let us look at Jira software. Jira software was released during year 2002. It is a software development tool used by agile teams, famous for its bug tracking system. The website to access this tool is www.atlassian.com/software/Jira, used by over 65,000 customers. The features of Jira software includes agile reporting, rich toolkit for developers, bug tracking, mobile applications. So the pricing of Jira software is as follows. So for forever 2 GB storage and community support, which cost $0, whereas standard is around $7 per user per month, which includes 250 GB storage and 9 to 5 standard support. Premium is $14 per user per month, unlimited storage, and has 24/7 premium support. Jira software is used by the organizations that is Hitachi, Visa, Dropbox, Nestle, Domino's, Coca-Cola, Samsung, etc. Now let us look at the tool Trello. So this application was released in 2011. It is known for providing flexibility in organizing and prioritizing the tasks with the help of its boards, lists, and cards. Website to access the tool is www.trello.com, used by over 50 million people. The features of Trello includes smooth editing, easy file uploads from Dropbox or Google Drive, high security standards, and easy data searching techniques. So the pricing includes it is free for 10 MB per attachment and 10 team boards. Business class includes 250 MB attachment, unlimited team boards, and it costs $9.99 per user per month annually. Enterprise version provides 250 MB per attachment, unlimited team boards, and costs around $20.83 per 100 users per month. The companies who use Trello are Google, Adobe, PayPal, UNICEF, the New York Times, etc. Now let us look at Asana. The Asana tool was released during 2008. It is an high-quality task management software that makes the tracking of tasks easy across the project management. The website to access this tool is www.asana.com, used by over 140,000 companies. The features includes incredible task management, Gantt charts, privacy controls, easy progress tracking. The pricing includes the basic model Asana provides 0 to 15 people, beginners in the project management. So premium includes custom fields, priority support, where the pricing is $10.99 per user per month annually. The business version includes advanced integration, priority support, and it costs $24.99 per 100 users per month. The companies which uses Asana are Deloitte, Vodafone, Red Bull, Uber, Salesforce, NASA, etc. Let us look at Teamwork tool. Teamwork was released during year 2007. It is a cloud-based project management solution that helps in managing group activities and establishing flexible communication. The website to access this tool is www.teamwork.com, used by over 370,000 organizations. The features of Teamwork includes high quality CRM, help desk software, risk register, and easy time tracking. The pricing includes 0 to 5 users and 100 MB file space is provided free of cost, whereas Pro version includes 5 to 50 users, 100 GB file spaces, which cost $9 per user per month. Premium version costs around $15 per user per month, which includes 5 to 100 users and 250 GB file space. The organizations who use Teamwork are Forbes, eBay, Microsoft Studios, HP, PayPal, Disney, Honda. Now let us look at the tool Meister Task. So this tool was released during year 2015 and it is known for providing automated and streamlined workflows to make the overall processes more productive. The website to access this is www.mastertask.com, used by over 2 million users. The features of this tool includes it is simple to use, seamless workflow, Gantt charts, flexible project boards. The pricing it is $0 per month up to 3 projects and unlimited project members. The Pro version includes unlimited projects, unlimited integrations, which costs around $8.25 per user per month, whereas Business costs $20.75 per user per month, which has security restrictions, priority email, and phone support. The organization who use the tool are Virgin, Optics Consulting, and Datan Succots Expert.d, etc. Basecamp. The Basecamp tool was released during the year 1999. It is a real-time communication tool that allows users to keep track of priorities and actionable tasks. The website to access this tool is www.basecamp.com, used by over 3 million users. The features of Basecamp includes easy to use, various third-party integrations, daily backups, and comprehensive project calendar. The personal version is free and 0 to 20 users and 1 GB store space is provided. In business version it is $99 per month for unlimited users having 500 GB storage space. The companies who use Basecamp is ThoughtPod, Harvest, WLB, Groupon, etc. Oracle Primavera. So this tool was released during the year 1983, which is acquired by Oracle Corporation in the year 2008. Primavera helps project manager to handle a vast number of tasks with the help of its unlimited resources and target plans. Website to access this tool is www.primavera.com, which is used by over 7,143 companies. So features of Primavera includes creation of WBS, the work breakdown structure, issues and risk recording, supports large number of activities, and easy collaboration with project users. The Enterprise Project Portfolio Management version costs around $2750 per user, which improves planning and execution. Professional Project Management version is USD 2500 per user, handles large-scale, highly sophisticated projects. So Oracle Primavera Contract Management version module costs around USD 2000 per user, keeps construction projects on schedule and on budget. So the companies which use Primavera are Burns, McDonald's, Pond, Arcadis, etc. Microsoft Project. So Microsoft Project Management tool was used during the year 1984. So this tool allows users to develop a schedule, assign resources, track progress, and manage budgets all through the project. The website to access this tool is www.office.microsoft.com/project. The features of Microsoft Project includes simple to use, effective monitoring, easy communication, enhanced decision making. So this is a cloud-based solution and the pricing is Project Plan 1 costs around $10 per user per month on an annual commitment. Managing projects via web browser is the feature. Project Plan 3, which costs around $30 per user per month with annual commitment, which is fully updated project desktop application. Project Plan 5, which costs around $55 per user per month with annual commitment. Evaluating project ideas from anywhere in the organization is possible through this. Project Standard 2019 version costs around $620 per PC per user for those who don't need collaboration tools and advanced features. Project Professional version 2019 costs around $1,030 per PC per user, syncing with Project Online and Project Server. The organization which uses Microsoft projects are Comptel, Airbus, Intel, Volvo, Xerox, etc.
So Trello is a simple and easy to use collaboration tool that can enable you to organize projects and everything related to it into boards. With Trello, you can find all kinds of information, like what's being worked on, who's working on what, and what progress the project is making. Now we'll learn about that in a little bit while we're talking about the Trello demo. Now let's talk about the advantages of Trello. Now first off, Trello can be used immediately after signing up. So Trello offers you a free sign up, after which you get access to almost all of Trello's features. Now it does have a premium service, but most of Trello's important features are available in the free account. Secondly, it follows the Kanban system. So the Kanban system is a popular methodology that can be used to achieve lean. So with Trello, you can also achieve lean. Now Trello also has a very popular mobile application which also has the same features as the interface that you see on the desktop. It's very user friendly. Now the fourth advantage is that all project related items can be seen on one page, which means everything you need about the project is available in one place. Next, adding new members, creating issues, and assigning them are very easy with the help of Trello. Now that we had a look at all the advantages that are provided by Trello, let's have a look at a live demo. So first off, let's go to Trello.com. So here you can see two options to log in or sign up. So first of all, if you've never used the website before, go to sign up. So here you can enter your email, or you can go through Google or Hotmail or Outlook. So it's very simple. I already have an account, so I'll just log in. Right, so I'm just going to log in. So if you're using Trello for the first time, this is what it would look like. So here you have personal boards, templates, home, and so on. So let's go one by one. Firstly, the most important thing that you need to know about is boards, which is right here. So let's assume you're using this for a team, which means that you need people to share the board along with. So first of all, let's create a team. So here I'm just going to name a company called Company Co. Say we do engineering IT. Let's write a brief team description and continue. So here, say I have 4 members. So I have Bob. I'm adding them here. So depending on what your team is like, you can add those team members. So this is important so that you can connect with them while you're on the board. So this is company.com. So we'll just add them. So the team members that you're going to invite will get an invite email very soon, as soon as you're done by clicking the invite to team button. I'll also add Bill, who also works at my company. And there's technician 1. And there's technician 1 who works at company.com. We'll add anybody who's required later. So invite to team. And there you go, there's some details here about the team and all that. Let's go back to home. And now let's create a new board under Company Co. So the difference here is that for personal boards is that, like the name suggests, it's personal. You can also add the team if you want later on, but here you have the option for creating a team board. So I'll show you how you can create a team board from personal board. So if you go to create board, here you can show as, this is by default selected as no team because it's under personal. Change it to company and you can write business, but anything else like that. And then you create a board. And there you go, the board has been set up. So now, first things first, it's that you can make this team visible, which is either only board members can see it, or since it's a small team, the entire team can see it. So it's up to you how you want it. There's the public option, which everyone can see, which I don't think is necessary, but if you feel like it, you can do that too. First of all, you can even write a description of the board, which is what you want to achieve with this board. For example, this is business or sales or something like that. You can change the background into something more colorful or less colorful, like this. And then there's search cards, which we haven't added anything so far, so there's nothing to search. There's stickers, which again is, I feel, unnecessary at the moment. You can also see something called Butler. So based on your usage or how you're using Trello, Butler can provide you suggestions like what you can add here. Like you can see here, the tips haven't been added so far because we haven't used Trello so far. So based on your usage, it'll give you suggestions. Now let's go back. So here you see power-ups. So power-ups are basically additional features that you can add to your board. So there are features that are connected to a number of different fields. There's analytics, automation, utilities, tools, and so on. So as a free user, you get access to one power-up, but still we don't have to use it so far because we don't have anything on our board. But based on your requirement, you can go through these power-ups and decide on one of them. So now let's get back to business or our board. So first you can see add a list. So this basically refers to the different processes that you want to follow in this board. So first of all, we'll add a list title. I'm going to add to do. That's the first list. Then there's in progress, on hold, and completed. So here we have 4 lists which represent the processes in this business. So if you want, you can even add another list depending on your requirement. So in these lists, there are things called cards, so which are like subtopics. So first of all, let's add a very simple title. For example, deliver product company A. This is again very simple. Deliver product to company B. Like this, so on and so forth if you want it. So here, this is a card. So this card can be moved from each stage to another as it progresses. So this is in the to-do stage since we've not started with anything. So once you click on a card, so this pop-up shows up. So here you can add a description like conversed with company A, ready to go. Just some details that you want to add. You save. Now one thing you can see, add to card. So there are a number of different things you can add to this card. So members, now I have 4 team members. I can add Bob here. I want Bob in on this. I want Bob to see the activities as it happens. I want Bill to also see as things proceed. Right, so the Bob and Bill are in on this right now. Next you have labels. So depending on what you want to use this for example, I want to use this to represent that it's important or immediate. Put it as red, save. So I can select this label to indicate that this is now very important. So depending on your company's, style, or depending on your requirements, you can add the labels. Then you have a checklist. So different steps can be focused on with this checklist. For example, I'm just going to write steps. So we're delivering a product, for example. So let's just use steps. Requirement gathering. I'm just going to write the software lifecycle steps: analysis, design, implementation, testing, deployment, and maintenance. So yeah, we have all the steps. So one thing is that once each of these steps are done, you tick it, so a percentage increases. So until you're done with 100%, you can just keep ticking. Finally, it will show 100% and you're done. So another thing is a due date. So this is basically by when you want it completed. So this is basically a reminder that we need to complete it or before a particular date is done. So I'm not adding a due date as of now, but that's up to you. Next, you have something called attachment. So say for example, all your requirements have been gathered into one PDF. So where all the requirements that are required by the company are shown in that PDF. You can attach it here so that everyone has access to it. Then a cover can also be added to your card, which is just basically beautifying it. So we can find one. So for example, this. And there you go. There's a pretty good looking cover here. Now we have all the information. So let's get started. So to officially mark the beginning of the project, we'll just go and put this to in progress. So at the same time, you can do the same thing with this card as well about company B. So let's just focus on company A now. So say the steps have already started, requirement gathering is done, designing is done, implementation is also done. So depending on the person, the technician, so the technician could respond that, we've already started. So before that, we need to add the technician. He's already on this, but if you had to add him, you search for members and you have board members who's already in the board. You can add the technician. Now you can also, add activity details like technician 1. How's it going? How's the process going? Now he could respond here with it's fine. So each time one of us, adds the other or says something to the other, they get notifications so that, they get to respond as well. They get to know what's happening. Now say for example, the technician is not able to complete the project or complete his work. So it's put on hold. So here I could say, so testing isn't done. So we can say tech, why the delay or what's going on? And he would give an appropriate response. And once he's ready, he can finish the testing and put it back to in progress. Then eventually all of it is done, deployment and maintenance. So here you have an option to hide complete items. That's up to you. You can also delete them if you feel like it. You can close this. And then after everything is done and you feel that everything of the process is done, you can put it on completed. So if this is a recurring process, you can, make a copy of this, which you can find by doing this copy, or you could just put this on archive, indicating that it's done. You can even get it back by just going to more, archived items, and then there you have it. You can send it back to board. That's up to you. And there you go. That's most of everything you need to know about Trello. One another thing is that right now you can only add 10 boards on this feed as of now because you're using a free membership. Also, depending on the intensity or the difficulty of the board, you can also have different boards for different projects. I've just used one for multiple projects, but it's entirely possible for you to have one board per project. You can also, favorite this, indicating that this is a very important one that you need to focus on every day. So this is where you get all the notifications that X is changed. There you go. All kinds of responses, everything that you need is available on this home screen, which is basically like a home feed. You can also find templates depending on your requirement. So you can choose a template from a wide variety of options. So I'm just going to show you the Kanban template. So here you have details about the template. You have an example of what the template looks like and so on. And there you go. That's everything you need to know about Trello.
So what is PMP certification? So the PMP, the Project Management Professional Certification, is a certification of PMI, the Project Management Institute, which is at USA. So is an internationally recognized credential for project managers. See, the certification indicates that the certified professional has a sufficient experience, education, skills and competency. Reason being, before going for PMP certification, it asks for specific prerequisites which involves experience in project management as well as formal education of project management and demonstrated skills. So that being a prerequisite for project management professional certifications, it is very essential that one need to understand what it takes to become eligible for PMP examination. So that we will go through in the subsequent slides. So the moment one has the PMP certification, that itself indicates the prerequisites to take up a PMP certification is accomplished already before going for certification, and then the individual will go for a certification and become certified professional. So that way it concludes, it also indicates that person who holds the PMP certification has sufficient experience, education, skills and competency. Moreover, there are more than 100,000 PMP certification holders across the globe. So PMP certified individuals earn 25% more than non-certified individuals. So now PMP certification also has the advantages which are given here, like helps the project manager to practice the project management better, create the results better, demonstrate the project management capability better. So this also helps project manager to show the commitment towards the project management profession, and having PMP certification provides the recognition across the globe, which helps in getting better salary compared with people, the professionals who are not certified, and also helps in increasing the network, project management network, who actually practices project management, the fellow practice project managers who are practicing the project management. So there are certain vocabularies, jargons which are used specifically while doing the project management. PMP helps to understand those. So now let us look at what does the official guide which is used in PMP that can help to become a project management professionals. So that is PMBOK, which is referred as Project Management Body of Knowledge, or PMBOK, which is the collection of processes, best practices, terminologies and guidelines accepted as standards within the industry. So the latest edition of this is 6th edition, which was released in 2017. The first edition of PMBOK guide was published in 1996, and the 6th edition, as I mentioned, was released in 2017, and the exam format was revised from 26th March 2018. So PMBOK guide will become the basic reference to appear in the PMP examination. So one needs to go through the training based on PMBOK guidelines, so that will help them to pass the examination easily. So eligibility criteria for appearing for PMP certification examinations. So you can have two types of eligibilities which PMI defines. So option 1 includes someone who has secondary degree, should have 7500 hours of leading and directing project. That is an experience, what it is asking, as a prerequisite before the professional go for examination, plus 35 hours of project management education formally from a registered education provider like Simplilearn. Option 2, someone who has 4-year degree, project management experience, leading and directing project. This experience will be 4500 hours, whereas as we saw in option 1, in option 2, 35 hours of project management education is required, and that is from registered education provider like Simplilearn, as I mentioned earlier. So this training, which is conducted by registered education provider, will have their trainings aligned with PMBOK, the latest edition. So Simplilearn enables people to learn what are the topics in PMP framework, plus make the professionals ready to appear the examination and become successful. The project management framework, which is defined in PMBOK, includes 5 process groups, 10 knowledge areas, and 49 processes. So when we say 5 process groups, this indicates the way the project flows, how each of these process groups are connected while project happens in the project life cycle. Whereas 10 knowledge areas are the one which needs to be looked up to, demonstrated up to, considered while doing the project management. And the 49 processes distributed across 5 process groups and 10 knowledge areas has the activities, the objectives, the inputs, outputs, tools and techniques clearly defined so that those can be applied while doing the project management. So those are aligned the way it is shown in the table. So 5 process group, that is initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and control and closing. These are the process groups. Whereas 10 knowledge areas includes project integration management, project scope management, project schedule management, project cost management, project quality management, project resource management, project communication management, project risk management, project procurement management, and project stakeholder management. So each of these knowledge areas and process groups are aligned in such a way where the processes aligned with a specific process group and knowledge area can be demonstrated accordingly. If you look at a process which goes from initiating to planning, planning to executing, and then monitoring and control, while you do monitoring and control, if there is anything found as a deviation, it may come back to planning or executing for necessary corrections. Once the necessary corrections happens, again it moves to monitoring and control to check whether it is completely done as expected or not. If it is confirmed everything is done as per the requirements defined, then it moves to closing. This is how the project flows in the project life cycle. Whereas all the 10 knowledge areas happens in parallel. So now if you look at initiating process group, you can see 2 processes, that is develop project charter and identify stakeholders. So develop project charter and identify stakeholders basically defines project charter required for the project as well as initial identified stakeholders who are required to move forward in the project. Similarly, if you look at planning process group, you have 24 processes which are distributed across all the 10 knowledge areas. So these processes creates a plan for the project which involves scope baseline, schedule baseline, cost baseline, quality management approach, then resource management approach. Means the plan, I mean to say. When I say approach, I am speaking about the plan. Similarly, communication management plan, risk management plan, procurement management plan, stakeholder management plan, and all of these will get consolidated into project management plan in the integration management knowledge area. Once this plan is done and approved, then it moves for execution. All that project manager do during execution is directing and managing project work and managing the project knowledge. At the same time, project manager would take responsibility of managing quality, acquiring resources, developing team, managing team, then communications which are planned as per the communication management plan. Communication should happen during execution. So similarly, implementation of risk responses defined while doing the planning and conducting the procurements as planned and then managing stakeholder engagement. So actual execution of those work packages, execution of those deliverables happens from the team. Now as those deliverables happens, the delivered products are checked, monitored and controlled. You can see validate scope, control scope. Likewise for each knowledge areas, there is a control process which checks is that happened in execution as it was planned in planning process group. So then that is consolidated here for monitoring and controlling the project work in entirety, integrated. Similarly, performing integrated change control. Any deviations found in any of these checks which is being done in the control. Now that deviations needs to be corrected. So change will be raised. So request for change will be raised and that will be approved and controlled and necessary directions are given, approvals are given, and that moves towards execution for implementation. Once it is implemented, again validation happens. Once control checks if everything is okay, then it moves to the closure. Now activities in closure, a project or a phase involves just an activities of closure. The products or services or results which are created from the project does not go to closure until those are validated, checked, confirmed and signed off. Only then it goes to closing project or phase, and necessary formalities which are required to be completed before conclusion will happen in closing project or phase. This is how the project flows. Second point which you should keep in mind is a project manager is also called as an integrator. So main focus, the umbrella view, the bird's eye view project manager should have from project integration management. So this layer, project integration management, where project manager should have an umbrella view, total view about entire project